Aviation first started in America on December 17, 1903. It was at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, when Wilbur and his brother Orville Wright accomplished the first flight of just over 100 feet. The first flight in Georgia took place on August 28, 1909, in Athens, when Ben Epps and Zumpf Huff successfully flew their monoplane about 50 feet.
Men of vision took the wings of war and turned them to a peaceful task, the flying of mail from Washington to New York. President Wilson officiated as these Army planes and pilots, working with the Post Office Department, set out to prove that airmail was practical. The planes were old de Havilland.
On May 15, 1918, President Wilson watched the first airmail plane take flight. Back then, planes could only travel short distances, so in order to fly cross-country, pilots would need to make multiple stops. By 1925, there was a growing need for airports to help planes fly cross-country. In 1925, the land from the abandoned Atlanta Speedway was donated by Coca-Cola mogul and former mayor of Atlanta, Asa Candler. In honor of his donation, the field was named Candler Field. In 1927, Cornelia was one of several cities bidding to be part of the airmail route from Washington to Atlanta. But it wasn't meant to be. A decade later, in 1937, a new airport was built in Mount Airy in an area known as New Switzerland. Despite the location, it was called the Cornelia Municipal Airport. When the airport first opened, a barnstormer named Jimmy Culpepper invited folks to the new airport to take rides on his airplane. By 1940, the airport had gone out of business and closed. In 1938, a new independent agency called the Civil Aeronautics Authority was formed to regulate and promote non-military aviation. In 1940, President Roosevelt split the CAA into two agencies, the Civil Aeronautics Administration and the Civil Aeronautics Board. DeKalb County, the former Camp Gordon site, became the DeKalb County Airport in 1941. That same year, the Gainesville Municipal Airport was created. Though just a dirt strip, it was taken over by the U.S. Navy during World War II for use as an auxiliary Navy airbase. When the Civil Aeronautics Administration was formed in 1940, it began publishing a book called the National Airport Plan. The book, published annually, listed existing and new airports. In 1947, the book listed a newly proposed airport called the Clarksville-Demorest Airport. In 1950, the airport became one of 96 that the Civil Aeronautics Administration recommended be built. But by 1954, the Clarksville-Demorest Airport was no longer listed, and once again, Habersham County had no airport. Lumpkin County built their airport in 1956. In 1957, construction began on an airport in White County. Stevens County local businessman and aviation fanatic R.G. Letourneau created the airport in the late 30s when he built two runways for his personal use. Letourneau donated the runways to the city and county in 1961, and the airfield was named in his honor. Two airports opened in 1964, the Jackson County Airport and the Blairsville Municipal Airport in Union County. And on May 24, 1969, after years of hard work, the Habersham County Airport was dedicated with Governor Lester Maddox, Congressman Phil Landrum, former Georgia Governor Carl Sanders, Agricultural Commissioner Tommy Irvin, and Dean Swanson, and hundreds of spectators.
Well, I remember very well when Dean and I were in the chamber together. We were discussing, both of us were looking ahead, way ahead, things about what would be good to help us develop this community economically, get industries and that sort of stuff. And so we determined that an airport would be a good thing to have eventually. So we made a decision between us that we would work on it, and Dean is one that really took the tiger by the tail and made it work good, work very well, because Dean was a jet pilot in the military and he had a lot of experience in flying, and so I respected his views very much. Our decision was based on what would be good for Habersham County in the future economically to help us attract industry and that sort of stuff. That's I think the story that drove us. Dean might have a different view on that.
No, I think that's right. The first time I ever heard of the airport is the first time I met John. And my wife said to me, that guy is important. Wait till you get up and meet him. Pretend like he's important. So I got up and met John, and John said, I want you to build an airport.
Yeah.
First thing he said to me.
Yeah.
And and I said, well, okay. I'd had quite a bit of experience of landing on airports, but never building one. Yeah. And so that's what started the whole thing. And John, I'll have to say, we went all over the county trying to find a place, and everybody we talked to said, we don't want an airport here. And so we ended up at this place, 40 acres here, and you and I walked it one day, cold as the dickens.
Yeah.
And boy, we had 40 acres, and that's all we needed.
Yeah.
So that was the start of this airport.
The airport is very important to our community. The airport's important to every community. It's an industry producer. It's key to the continued growth of America.
The industry that's located around this airport now, I think, are here because of the airport.
If you live as a resident of Habersham County and you never set foot on the airport, or you don't even know where the airport is, that the airport's doing good things that benefit you. You know, whether it's attracting more aircraft, that's more ad valorem that goes in the county, so there's more resources for other beneficial things in the county.
The airport has become a very vibrant industry producing model airport in Georgia. We're becoming known almost as a regional airport. The last several governors have been very kind to us, and so has the FAA, to allow us to extend the runway 3,750 feet to 5,500 feet, so that we can now get jets, large jets, transports in here, sell more jet fuel.
The airport has an economic impact on the county, and not only brings in dignitaries and folks coming in to do business, it creates local businesses, it creates jobs, it creates investment opportunities in the county. Not only do we have those opportunities, we have the 63 home-based aircraft that pay ad valorem tax into the county general fund. So those can range anywhere from $500 up to $500,000, depending on the top planes that are here in the county.
Well, I've looked at it just over my years, and I've looked at other counties and see what they have. And it has a major economic impact, because you just look around us at the little counties that has no airports and look at the economy there. It definitely affects the industry.
And not only in economic development, we are very close to the inland port that is being built in Hall County, about 8 to 10 miles from the airport. So as businesses and dignitaries fly into their businesses like Kubota, some of the Fielddale folks, this allows us to do excellent customer service for those folks as well. So this affords us this for this area and this region for economic development and investment.
A lot of times it's this general aviation. People will fly in here. A lot of times this destination is an easy airport to get to. You do have Gainesville, PDK, and Hartsfield as well. But there's an ease sometimes to some airports. This one's very easy, and it's the closest one to Helen. There's a lot of people that fly in here. Like I said, the economic impact being like Helen, Airbnb, VRBO, golfing. You have a lot of people that fly in just to come up here to spend a weekend. They have cabins, they go up to Lake Burton. I've had people flying here to go to Lake Lanier for the weekend, stay on a houseboat. So there's an impact all over. It just doesn't, it's not just one place.
Some exciting projects that we've had lately is we've had a ROFA expansion, which is a runway object-free area project that has come in. We've had a apron expansion, and we've also, upcoming, we have airfield lighting project, which will be replacing all the airfield lights throughout the airport. Those are probably 15 to 20 years old, and this will get it into modernization and LED lighting for the airport. These major projects are funded through grants from the FAA and from Georgia Department of Transportation, and the county only has to upfront a county share of roughly 10 to 15% of those costs. We probably have gotten in roughly $6 million of grants over the last 3 years for these projects.
For every airport, 2 projects that are primarily a focal point, and that is the runway paving and the runway lighting. Both of those projects are 20-year lifespans. You are at the end, kind of getting at the end of lifespan for both of those. You will then be set for 20 years on those 2 projects. You'll have a big apron, you only need to enlarge it once. The ROFA projects, cutting down high ground, you only need to do that once. You will now be sitting in the FAA criteria, which funds safety first, then capacity, then revenue generating items like fuel farms. You will be free and clear of anything where they can come in that you have to react to. We use a tool to kind of help explain to communities, especially non-aviation people, how your airport compares to others in a very pragmatic way. What we'd say is we take the county population ranking. So in the state of Georgia, 159 counties, there's 103 public use airports, so about 2/3 of the counties have airports. You can take the county's population ranking, which is about 44th in the state. You can take the based aircraft ranking. Habersham County sits at about 63 based aircraft, which ranks 22nd in the state.
Once we have all of those things in place, the runway itself, the approaches, and in a place to park these bigger airplanes, the economic impact is going to last well into the future.
In 2020, GDOT Aviation put out a report where they combined the numbers, and just from an economic impact to this county was rounding up $12 million. And that's people say, well, how does that happen? Well, there's a lot of trickle down comes from this airport that people have no idea. The jets that come in and out of here, the fuel they buy, the business that transpires here. It's something that you got to kind of immerse yourself in the whole process to be able to understand it. But this is a big deal, and I think in the future it's going to be even larger.
The decision makers don't arrive on a Greyhound bus; they come in on an airplane.
Jim Tatum was hired as the fixed-based operator for the Habersham County Airport in August 1976, working there for 38 years. Jim Tatum's son, Chris Tatum, took a moment to share memories about his late father.
He worked on TVs for a long time and then medical equipment, but he started flying again when they opened this airport in '69, I think was the first day. And then he started flight instructing at Toccoa and here, because nobody had it. And then they had a guy, Ralph Sheeter, that ran the airport, and I worked for him, stripping airplanes to paint them. And then it didn't work out, so Daddy started then.
So I decided to buy a new airplane. I bought a 1975 Cessna 172, a 4-passenger versus a 2-passenger Cessna 150. I learned to fly in it, put many, many hours flying up and down the East Coast and some down in the Gulf Coast with Mr. Tatum when he would at night work on fetal heart tone machines in hospitals. They would break down. And so in addition to his radio, he was a radio and TV repairman. He also ran the airport. He also worked at night on that sort of business for fetal heart tone machines. I chose to fly him around the country in that airplane at night, which helped me accumulate a lot of experience.
One thing that I will always remember about James Tatum happened right after the year 2000. For 100 years, nothing changed in airplanes. The pilots would fly by 6 primary instruments, and it was a very difficult thing to do. In 2000, the aviation industry came up with the concept of, hey, let's put a computer in the airplane, and let's replace all those gauges with 2 computer monitors, and let's connect those monitors to every aspect of the plane and the flight and the navigation. Let's connect it to moving maps. Let's connect it to weather forecasts, and that's what they did. It was wonderful, but it was very hard to learn because it was a lot of information and very difficult to go from the old way of flying to the new. So long story short, I went to James Tatum around 2003, asked him if he could teach me this, and he was candid. He said, no, I haven't learned it myself, but it looks pretty neat. So anyway, he said, look, if you can find a plane that has it, we'll go up together, we'll learn it together, and I'll teach you, and I'll also show you how it's different than the way it used to be with the old gauges. And so we did that, and lo and behold, I went and got certified, told my test instructor that I had been educated by James Tatum in his late 70s on this new technology, and the guy just couldn't believe it. He said, so few people can make that transition, and James did it quickly and very easily, and then was able to use his instructor characteristics to then teach me how to do it. But it shows that James at that late age still was a brilliant man. He could easily pick up the new technology and explain it, and he was just a wealth of information. But we'll always miss him, but that truly showed one side of James Tatum that a lot of people may not be familiar with. And the other aspect of that is his attitude of, you know what, I may not know something, but I'll figure it out very, very quickly, and I'll do it as good as anybody. And that was James Tatum.
When I was in the Senate, I was asked to come to Nashville, Tennessee and make a talk. And so I didn't want to drive over there, so I came and talked to James Tatum, see if he'd fly me up there. Because it was just to go up there and back, that's a long way to drive, far there and back. So he agreed to do it, and he had a young man that was training as a pilot, wanted to be a pilot, and so he asked me if that would be okay if he was with us, and I said absolutely. So the thing that I remember about it so vividly is that young man got airsick, I reckon, and vomited all over the plane. So we got to Nashville, and I got the destination where I was going to make a speech. So James and his friend cleaned up the airplanes so we could fly back without all that smell.
But I started flying in here 20 years ago, and Jim and Marvine Tatum ran the airport, and every time I came through here, they were always here.
Well, the thing that I would tell you is the Tatums, the vision that the Tatums had, and specifically Jim and Marvine Tatum, they grew the airport. They helped grow the airport. Now, Senator Foster and Mr. Swanson, they were the crucible that created. They were put forth the initial effort. But I think they would agree that the Tatums were truly the backbone in the operational side of making the airport what it is now.
Growing up here, I remember being like in elementary school thinking everybody had their own airport, because it was just like second nature, so always spent a lot of time with, with grandparents, and, this airport was like another family member to us, because they literally worked 7 days a week from, when the sun came up till it went down. So if you wanted to see them, you had to come to the airport. Yeah, as I got older, I would help. We had like golf carts that we'd pull airplanes with, so I'd get out and ride around the airport. And, it was a neat place to be, because, the community would come. Like on a Saturday, if you were at the airport, there'd probably be like 20 people. There'd be tons of people that were like in and out. So it was kind of fun. Like our family, all these people that we grew up with, you got to know them through the years, and it was really just a fun place to be.
On August 13th, 2005, the terminal at the Habersham County Airport was renamed to the James Tatum Terminal Building. And a monument was unveiled naming the airport Swanson Field in honor of Dean Swanson. In the foothills of Northeast Georgia, at the crossroads of hard work and possibility, you'll find the Habersham County Industrial Park, a place where vision meets opportunity. Strategically located adjacent to the airport, this is more than a cluster of buildings. It's where local people earn good wages, where companies find room to grow, and where new ideas take shape. Every shift here strengthens our schools, our small businesses, and the future of our towns. For families, it means stability. For our workforce, it means pride. For our community, it means progress. Decades ago, when leaders first looked out at these fields and imagined what could be, they believed something simple, yet powerful. If you build it, they will come. And they did. Manufacturers, innovators, logistics, skilled trades, hundreds of jobs, millions in local investments. This industrial park is not accidental. It's the result of planning, cooperation, and a shared belief that Habersham County deserves opportunities right here at home. And as we continue to expand infrastructure, improve access, and prepare work-ready talent, that same belief carries us forward. If we continue to build smart, if we continue to invest wisely, if we continue to work together, they will keep coming. And with them, more jobs, more growth, more chances for our children to build their futures here, where their roots run deep. The Habersham County Industrial Park, built with vision, growing with purpose, moving our community forward.
I never really intended to build a flight program, and I just started with one airplane, and that became two became three, then on, and now I have 7. I quite enjoy teaching. Very commonly, people become an instructor as a stepping stone to build enough hours to become marketable for an airline job or some sort of corporate commercial pilot job, and which was my goal in the beginning. I actually enjoy instructing. I enjoy the people. I enjoy the mentoring that I get to provide. One other thing that I think is worth mentioning about the Habersham County Airport, last year the airport agreed to sponsor an aviation explorer post through Scouting America.
When you have planes here, you're generating fuel sales. So you're also getting ad valorem taxes on planes. It does help the county, and people are buying fuel, and you're also getting hangar rent. So you are getting that back into the county, and that helps and feeds the county and the airport as well.
The airport is funded by user fees. It's an enterprise fund and is self-sustaining. It does not rely on property taxes to be funded, nor is the citizens funding the operation of the airport. Fuel sales, user fees, and hangar rental fees are what sustains the airport revenues and takes care of all the expenses at the airport.
In my childhood, I was always interested in watching on television a series known as Sky King.
Out of the clear blue of the western sky comes Sky King, brought to you by Nabisco.
He flew a twin-engine Cessna 310 airplane, and he fought crime. He used it to fly over his farms and check on his cattle and his fences, and check on any wolves or anything that might be killing his cattle. And it was fascinating.
All things because of the good bones and foundation of the airport, and that kind of goes back to this overall message of the airport is, you know, the two gentlemen originally that are out there with a tape measure in a field, if they don't do that, then we can't be at this point where we can build off of that.
I can't believe what it has become. Even if I thought it was going to expand a little bit, it's gone way beyond that. And this last expansion that they had has been wonderful for it. So I don't know where you could go to a place with a smaller community that has an airport this big.
I've been teaching long enough that some of my students are flying for the major airlines now. They're in the regionals. I've just recently had two of what I'll say my kids. I feel like there's some of these younger kids, I kind of call them my kids, that I've trained that are now, two have gone to internships at UPS, various regional airlines, and it just makes me proud. I feel like, you know, I feel like a proud mom at this point.
Flying is like, if you've ever sat at the beach, you ever sit there on a dock and you look at a bird that just, like a seagull sometimes. I used to watch them when I was in St. Augustine. I would surf in the morning and the seagulls, the wind would blow and the seagulls would just kind of sit right there and kind of like hover with the wind. And that is absolutely just amazing to me how and you would think Wilbur and Orville Wright saw that in that bird, and a bird, you know what I mean? They saw something in that bird. Why couldn't we get something to hover and fly like that, you know? And it's the feeling of flight that it is unbelievable. I mean, I wish I could take every single person, every child, to let you experience what flight is.
It's the freedom, it's the being able to get up and see beautiful country, a feeling of peace and tranquility.
My dad, we used to go to the airport and watch planes come and go, and it just kind of piqued an interest.
We can't, as we continue to grow, we can't forget where we came from, and we can't forget how we got here. We can't forget that we're standing on the shoulders of John Foster, of Dean Swanson, of Jim Tatum. I'm gonna start crying when I do this. Thinking of those folks, it's special.
It started with a simple conversation, a request really. John Foster, full of vision and determination, approached Dean Swanson with an idea that seemed bold at the time, to build an airport. Not just a strip of asphalt, but a gateway for opportunity, growth, and connection into the community. Some might have laughed, others might have shrugged it off, but Dean listened. He saw what John saw, a future where the county could reach further than the roads would allow, a place where business, travel, and possibility could take flight. And together, they got to work, planning, persuading, building. The airport they created didn't just change the landscape, it changed lives. And now, 60 years later, the story isn't just about the airport. It's about friendship that stood the test of time. John and Dean are still here, still neighbors, still storytellers, still best friends, bound not only by what they built, but by the belief they shared that when a community dares to dream, remarkable things can rise from humble ground. This is the story of vision, of commitment, of two men who saw what could be and made it real. And today, thanks to these two trailblazers, the Habersham County Airport proudly runs strong.